thousands of refugees.
Tens of thousands of refugees arriving in Germany.
Unser Land und unser Volk zurückholen.
After the Second World War, Germany became an immigration haven, but all that is about to change. The pending political revolution, spearheaded by the AFD, is on a pathway to change Germany, and immigration is the first agenda on their change list. What is behind the radical shift in the immigration issue in Germany? What is going to happen to the millions of immigrants that call Germany home? Promises of mass deportation have been echoing from Berlin to Potsdam. In this video, we look at why the news is sending shockwaves around the world. And most importantly, we look at what the shift means for Germany going forward. Background on German migration. The story of migration is as old as Germany itself, but it has never been as divisive as it has been in the past few years. Just after the Second World War, there was a surge in migration into Germany. German citizens who had been displaced during the war made their way to Germany, and other Eastern European nationals who had also lost everything made their way into the country as well. At this point, Germany was in ruins, and everyone who moved there had nothing but hope for better days. Luckily for all those who had made the move to Germany, Wirtschaftswunder, or the Great Miracle, happened in the 1950s. The boom in industrialization and production was amazing for the German economy, but it also brought up the issue of labor requirements. The economic turnaround in Germany was so good that the authorities had to gather labor from Turkey and Italy. All the labor from these countries was still inadequate, and migrant workers from as far as Mexico ended up making their way to Germany. The economic rise and improvement in the quality of life resulted in all these migrants staying and integrating into German society. Thanks to the lax immigration laws, for decades to come, millions of migrants easily made their way to Germany with no resistance whatsoever. In 2015, however, everything changed, and a seismic shift in the immigration policy. With conflicts all over the Middle East, Germany became the most sought-after refugee destination. Over 1 million refugees are estimated to have made their way into Germany during that era. In response to this, Angela Merkel, the leader of the CSU-CDU coalition at that time, decided to open up the German gates even more and allowed even more migrants to move into Germany. This did not go down well with most Germans, but the largest critic of this move was the AFD. Since then, the far-right AFD party has campaigned aggressively to ensure that the so-called 2015 mistake will never happen again. You are probably wondering who the AFD is and how they are so powerful. Well, their past is nowhere near as impactful as their potential future. The birth of the AFD. The Alternative for Germany, or the AFD as the party is commonly known, was birthed just in the early 2010s. Although the AFD came into existence as a protest against Angela Merkel, the party was not formed as a response to the 2015 migration crisis. The party was formed by 18 men in a church hall in Oberursel, Germany, a wealthy town near Frankfurt. The 18 men had two main demands: putting an end to the Eurozone crisis and returning to the use of the Deutsche Mark. The party has experienced massive growth, and by 2023, the party had 79 seats in parliament. The numbers are not the only thing that has changed with the party, but also the ideology and their main focus. In the past 10 years, the AFD has been at the forefront of reforming immigration policy. The reason why they have been at the forefront of this change is what has shocked the world. Reasons for the AFD's anti-immigration sentiments. Up until 2015, there had never been noise about migration with regards to immigration policies. Since 2015, the AFD has been pushing for the tightening of migration policy, and with the election, the list of their reasons for doing this keeps getting longer and longer. The biggest reason why the AFD has been pushing to lock out immigrants and to deport immigrants already in Germany stems from the large number of immigrants that Germany has been taking in each year. For instance, in 2022 and 2023, a total of around 596,000 asylum seekers and well over 1 million war refugees from Ukraine came to Germany. According to current estimates, between 208,000 and 300,000 asylum applications are expected again in 2024. The AFD and its large contingent of supporters believe the continued growth in immigration numbers is straining the resources of the nation. Apart from the straining resources, the AFD has also cited unfairness in the allocation of state-sponsored benefits by the state. The growing proliferation of crimes by immigrants has been also another big reason why the AFD has been championing immigration policy reform. In 2023, according to official statistics, Germany registered 5.5% more crimes than in the previous year, with 41% of the perpetrators being foreigners. These are the main arguments that the AFD has always passionately right up in their anthem migrant campaign, and for some reason, a large chunk of the German population has eaten this up, and based on recent election results, the AFD is growing exponentially based on this. I know the best question you probably have next is how bad the current German immigration laws are, especially with how much the AFD has been demonizing them. The German immigration laws. Residence Act, AFD, is the main law governing foreigners' entry, residence, employment, and termination of residence. Although the AFD has continuously attacked this law, it has seen less criticism compared to the Asylum Procedure Act, Asyl VFG. The Asylum Procedure Act, Asyl VFG, governs the integration of immigrants into German society. These are the two main laws that have been governing immigration, and according to the AFD, they are too lenient and will lead to the fall of Germany. The AFD's Remigration policy. The AFD seeks to change immigration in Germany through their remigration policy. This includes the deportation of over 1 million foreigners in the coming years. Germany already deports thousands of immigrants, but not more than 100,000 annually. The AFD has promised their support base record deportation. You are probably asking who they want to export, right? Well, the AFD has a list, and it's quite a long list. The AFD has promised to deport all undocumented immigrants. If an immigrant has been denied asylum, or if they have been living in the country for a long time without proper documentation, the AFD wants them rounded up and deported. If an immigrant has committed a crime, no matter how small the infringement is, the AFD has promised to also get them deported. To make sure that the million deportation mark is reached without hiccups, the AFD plans to expedite the deportation process by making it possible to bypass some laws that slow down deportation. Apart from making deportation faster, the AFD has also made public plans to make detention provided for anyone waiting for deportation. This is meant to ensure that no one absconds before their deportation. If you are coming from a third world country with the hope of settling in Germany, the AFD has promised thorough background checks and country ranking systems. This means potential migrants in countries with high crime rates and a history of violence will find it difficult to make it to Germany if the AFD gets their way. The sweeping changes that the AFD has been promising are set to transform immigration. But how feasible are these changes? Will the AFD be able to go through with their plans? Well, we took a deep breath, and we have the right answer to that question. Potential economic effects. For all the negative smear that immigrants in Germany have had to face, in the area that nearly everyone agrees on is their contribution to the economy. Most immigrants contribute immensely to the German labor force, and mass deportation will result in massive disruptions of the supply chain. The AFD does claim that legal immigrants won't be affected by their plans, and the economy will not be affected, but experts say otherwise. Removing 1 million people from Germany will certainly have a detrimental effect on the German economy and the EU economy as a whole. Logistical challenges. Deporting 1 million immigrants requires manpower and a lot of investment in resources. Add to that the planned detention for immigrants awaiting deportation, and you have a logistical nightmare, especially if you consider the sort of time frame that the AFD has set for themselves. The AFD has promised that they will be able to go through with their plans regardless of the seemingly impossible logistical requirements. It remains to be seen, however, if they will be able to get the nod to govern and a chance to give their plans a chance of implementation. Legal hurdles. The biggest hurdle that the AFD party faces in their query to change how immigration is handled in Germany is the legal issue. German immigration goes beyond German lawmakers. Germany has to abide by EU immigration laws, and this means that whatever changes the AFD proposes have to be in line with the EU deportation framework. If the AFD decided to go on with their plans to deport 1 million individuals, they would be faced with an avalanche of appeals and legal challenges. This will slow down their process as highlighted by the AFD, and if we factor in the EU Dublin regulation, the AFD can't complete their 1 million deportations in their desired framework. Moral and ethical hurdles. Germany has been a champion in terms of upholding human rights, including migrant and refugee rights. The standing that Germany has in the global community has been a result of their fair stance on immigrants. The AFD's plans for mass deportation will likely result in a shift in how Germany is viewed globally in terms of upholding human rights, with some members of the AFD, like Björn Höcke, having a sketched past after he was recorded saying, "The big problem is that one presents Hitler as absolutely evil. It might be another big call to go on with the migration plan." Building this reputation has taken German years, and it's most likely that it is something they would not want to lose. This means that the AFD will most likely face a lot of resistance even amongst their rank and file. The ethical, economic and legal hurdles are a mouthful, but the response from other political parties is an even bigger barrier to AFD's intentions. Response to the AFD Remigration policy. The AFD's proposed Remigration policy has met aggressive criticism from most political parties in Germany. The biggest critic of the AFD is the Christian Democratic Union has rang an alarm and indicated that if the AFD is to go ahead with their plans, social unrest in Germany would be inevitable. In their criticism, however, the CDU has also been clear that indeed immigration is a problem, but mass deportation is not the answer. They have suggested that the country should go with more stringent border control measures rather than uprooting immigrants and shipping them away. Although the CDU stance is strongly against the AFD, the Social Democratic Party, SPD, might be AFD's biggest critic. The part has outright called the plans inhumane and archaic. The party's leaders have been a strong proponent of human rights in Germany and the world over and have highlighted that the AFD's plans will take a toll on the country's moral standing. In their criticism, the SPD has been honest enough to highlight that indeed immigration is a problem, but like the CDU, they have made it clear that mass deportation is the wrong solution to the problem. The party understands that immigrants have added to Germany both economically and socially. This further complicates the plans that the AFD has. Apart from the ethical and morality concerns, the SPD has also raised the logistical concerns that would come with the AFD's remigration policy. The amount of coordination required to carry out the deportations will have a huge economic bearing on Germany. The SPD party leaders are concerned and have been lobbying voters to steer away from the AFD. This brings up the question, what do the voters think about their AFD's plans? That's a good question, and unfortunately, polls have not been giving a cutthroat answer. The German voters seem to be divided about the AFD's immigration policy. Although most voters do agree that migration is a big problem, the voters have split opinions on how the AFD plans to deal with the problem. A section of the voters do feel that mass deportation will give Germany a fresh start and a bit more room to allocate resources to its citizenry. Another section feels going with the deportation route will change Germany for the worse, economically and socially. Although opinions are split, one thing that is quite baffling is how much the AFD's election support has been growing. Recently, the AFD managed to win quite convincingly in Thuringia and Saxony. If we are to take this result at face value, it would seem that a majority of the German population is in support of the AFD's immigration policy. But those are just two cities, and we have to wait for the general election. The immigrants. The people who will be most affected by this decision are the immigrants, and surprisingly, their voices have not been the loudest in these conversations. Immigrants have been raising alarms about the proposed changes in immigration policies. One lady named Sultan highlighted how much Germany has changed since the Reformation and the proliferation of the AFD. In an interview with the BBC, she said, "We are incredibly afraid, and we know we are being threatened. But you have to understand that this has been the reality for years." The sentiments have been echoed by human rights activists as well. The AFD has been making strides politically, and recently they managed to win with over 30% in Thuringia and Saxony. This means that they are getting closer and closer to real power. If you are not taking the immigration crisis in Germany seriously, well, this might be your alarm to do exactly that.